This may be the most important news this offseason. We're going to talk about the revealing comments made by two New York Jets players. So, let's get fired up. On Wednesday, the New York Jets released a video, interviews with two players. And what they had to say gives us a keen insight as to what's going on with this team right now. Andre Cisco was signed to be the ball-hawking safety that this secondary needs. One of the very first questions he was asked was about his memories growing up as a New York Jets fan, and his answer was fascinating. He said not only did he remember watching the Jets in the playoffs, but even in the regular season, they had a great record and they were one of the better teams. One of the better teams. Now, from the time that Aaron Glenn got here, and he said, "We're the New York Jets and we're built for this shit," I've heard negative fans pushing back, saying the Jets haven't done anything. We're built for what? But it's very clear that Cisco thinks about the Jets during the Rex Ryan years, when we were in back-to-back AFC championship games. Aaron Glenn thinks of his time as a player under Parcells, where again, we were in the AFC championship game. They still look at this team as a winning organization. I think they're looking at it as what it can be, not what it has been recently. Cisco was not only brought in for his ball skills and his physicality. Aaron Glenn said he was brought in to be a leader, to help with communication in the back end. Much like C.J. Mosley made all the calls for the defense, Cisco can make the calls for the secondary, making sure guys get lined up in the right spot. He talked about how he and Tony Adams do everything together. They practice together, work out, eat together, watch film together. And he said, in the past, I've been a part of teams where there were close groups within that team, and that was always a big part of our success. Working together is probably going to be something I talk about a lot in this video. He mentioned the DB room, calling out each guy by name, naming off their attributes. He even mentioned rookie Azareye'h Thomas, saying, when you have that kind of humility, even though you're that incredibly talented, that's usually a recipe for good things to come. He talked about how all the DBs can work together to help close windows quickly and force quarterbacks into bad decisions. He spoke about how the coaching staff is preaching to them that this team will live and die by takeaways. And he said, even if we can't take the ball away ourselves, we can at least tip it up for a teammate. I have not heard a defensive player from the Jets talk about the tip drill probably since the Rex Ryan era or the Herm Edwards era. Point being, the last time I heard people talking like that is when we had good winning teams. Now, from the time he got here, everybody has talked about Aaron Glenn being a former Pro Bowl corner, the influence that he can have on our young guys. But our coaching staff also has Chris Harris and Dre Bly, who also played at a high level in this league for a long time. And I think that's so important because to the players, these guys are mentors, not instructors. They're not just coaches, reading from a book, telling them how to do something. These guys have done it themselves and done it at a high level. The other player they spoke to was wide receiver Josh Reynolds. He spoke about how they're installing this culture right now, and all the guys are buying in. They all have a common goal. And he said, after this year, when we get around to next year, that culture is already going to be ingrained. So the culture is just going to install itself. And right now, with the coaches learning the players learning their teammates, everybody trying to learn a new system, things haven't necessarily looked perfect. But he said what they're doing now is preparation for perfection. They're doing the groundwork now. They're laying the foundation now so that it'll be perfect later. I love that phrase, by the way. Now, much like when we brought in Alan Lazard to help ease the transition into Hackett's offense from what we had run previously, Reynolds was brought in to help with concepts and terminology, to help bring the younger players along. Because of his familiarity with the system from his time in Detroit, that's a huge asset for the coaching staff, helping to bring the younger players along. He also talked about blocking and how blocking was just a part of football that has gotten lost in the transition. He said, even if I'm not getting the ball, I'm going to go downfield and I'm going to hit somebody. I'm going to make an impact on the game, and I'm going to make my presence felt one way or another. And I love that mentality. He talked about Justin Fields, how smart he is, and how fast he's picking up the offense. Now, in his previous stops in Chicago and Pittsburgh, I think they took plays from their playbook that they thought were good for him and focused on those. But what we're doing here, I think Tanner Engstrom is actually drawing up plays with Justin Fields' skill set in mind. And I think that we're going to have an offense that is truly tailored to him, which will equal wins in the long run. I love the way that all the players are talking about working together, and I think that cohesive team approach is going to make all the difference in the world. I think we're going to see a very different Jets product this year, and I think we're going to get back to being competitive. I'm not predicting playoffs. I'm not saying we're going to go all the way, but I think we're going to compete each and every week, and I think this team is going to give us a team that we can be proud of for a change. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We got much more content coming this week. Until later, go Jets.